It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on Monday morning, October the 4th, 2021. I'm Chillie Falls, coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, Central Virginia area, right near Lynchburg. Today is a day close to my heart. It's National Cinnamon Roll Day, folks. And yeah, that's a weakness of mine. I don't mind admitting it. A terrible weakness. I may just have to go get me a cinnamon roll on my way to physical therapy this afternoon. Anyway, just mentioning that in the news. In the news today, we got Hurricane Sam is finally about done. A proposed cruise ship prototype, double the size of an Oasis class ship. Sweet Lord, I hope not. Another international cruise from the UK. A little bit of a delay on the breakaway. This and a lot more this morning on Monday Travel and Cruise Industry News. This is a very important week, I think, in the cruise restart, folks. The whole week is good, but especially this weekend. We got 33 ships sailing from the U.S. ports Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 33 ships. That's awesome. Today, we've got a few sailings out at Los Angeles, Long Beach. Carnival Miracle leaves on a 4-dayer. At Los Angeles, San Pedro, Grand Princess sails on a 5-nighter. From Miami, Freedom of the Seas on a 4-nighter. And Crystal Serenity on a 7-nighter. Celebrity Summit on a 5-nighter. And Carnival Sunrise on a 5-nighter. So Port Miami's a little busy today. Port Canaveral this evening, you've got there this afternoon, however you want to call it. You've got Mariner of the Seas sailing on a 4-nighter and the Disney Dream sailing on a 4-nighter. So that's what's happening as far as today's cruise sailings. All right, got a special guest this morning on a Chillie Chats guest. Yesterday afternoon, I interviewed a very popular YouTuber, and he's also a cruiser as well, MrBucketList. And he did a little comparison of MSC and Royal Caribbean since he's been on both recently. So no further ado, here's my guest for today, MrBucketList. My guest today is MrBucketList. Many of you have seen him on YouTube. So, MrBucketList, welcome to Chillie Chats.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. You've just been on 2 cruises.
That's right.
Almost back to back. The Meraviglia from MSC and Mariner of the Seas. First, how was the food on Mariner of the Seas?
So on Mariner of the Seas, especially after coming off of the Meraviglia, it was like night and day. The food was, not only was it quick, but it was satisfying. It was such a huge variety and actually had great quality. This is my first time with Royal Caribbean. I'm used to NCL, and it was just, even over NCL and of course over MSC, it was just amazing. Really good.
Okay. Obviously, you have cruised pre-COVID, and now you have cruised post-COVID. Yeah, both cruise lines and their COVID protocols.
Sure. So they were actually extremely similar. One thing I didn't realize that was going to take place after COVID versus pre-COVID was how easy everything was going to be, especially with embarkation and debarkation. With both the cruise lines, the only time I stopped was just to show my paperwork. With MSC, for example, you only stop one time at the first desk where you check in. After that, you just keep on walking. You don't sit down or anything. With Royal Caribbean, it's a little bit different. They ask for your vaccine passport so many times, about 5 or 6 times. And they even ask for that before they ask for your passport. So they're really serious about it. But either way, I mean, there's none of that sitting down and like before, where you would sit down and wait till they call your group and your number. That's just not a thing anymore.
How are they on board as masks, social distancing?
Mm-hmm. So for those, for the most part, I mean, it's really good. I'm someone that goes to a lot of theme parks, and theme parks, they don't really enforce it. Once you get there, they say all this stuff, they don't really do it. But with cruise lines, it's definitely enforced. For example, at MSC, they actually had like areas where only the vaccinated can go, and then they had actual shows that only the vaccinated could go. Royal Caribbean is somewhat like that. They had a mixed show. The only difference was people that were vaccinated sat on the third floor, and people that weren't vaccinated sat on the fourth floor. So they divided us by floors, but we were all seeing the same show. But they were pretty serious about it. Like I said, they one thing that they did not do on Royal Caribbean, I was surprised that they did on MSC, was MSC, for them to check your temperature, they would do it every time you enter the dining room. So whether it's the buffet or the dining room, they would take your temperature, then they would scan your card. But Royal Caribbean, I don't remember them ever actually taking my temperature, so I'm not really sure what that was about. But for the most part, it was pretty good.
Did you feel safe health-wise on both ships?
I did. I think the main reason why was the crowd level. For example, when I was on the Meraviglia, that ship, the numbers kept changing as far as how many people it holds, but apparently it holds close to 5,000 or 6,000 people. When we were there, it was about 700 people. So, I mean, there was literally times when I would walk from the atrium to the pool deck. I wouldn't see people for hours. It was just so empty. It's such a big ship. It was hard to, you just don't feel cramped like you would on a regular cruise. So, I mean, honestly, when it comes to safety, that was the last thing in my mind, because there just wasn't enough people to make me feel unsafe.
Okay. Were there more people percentage-wise on Mariner?
It was. So on the Mariner, especially when I first checked in, unfortunately, because I literally booked the cruise about 2 days in advance, I got a late check-in time. And so when I first got to the terminal, it looked like a regular crowd from like an old cruise back in the day. And so I was like, man, it's going to be a lot of people. But thankfully, that was just, I guess they all checked in late, so they all got there at the same time. But once I got on the actual ship, on the Mariner, it was about 1,063, and that ship actually holds about 4,000. So again, it wasn't the full capacity. But either way, I still felt safe, but there was a little bit more of a crowd in the Mariner.
Well, I'm excited about our cruise industry in this country is going. I don't know if you follow it close enough to know this coming week, next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we will have 33 cruise ships sailing from the U.S. And I think that's fabulous.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're getting back. We're not back all the way yet, but we're getting there. So.
And it's good. They definitely need it, because especially when I was on the Meraviglia, the cruise director made a good point. She was like, "There's no way we can survive cruising at this level of capacity. It's just we're spending more money than we're actually making on these cruises on a daily basis, and we need it." So I'm happy to hear that.
All right, I kind of lean toward Norwegian also. I started cruising slow because of their solo cabins. Do you find that the same one of your reasons also?
It is, and that's one thing I will point out about both MSC and Royal. They don't have any type of solo activity, at least that I'm aware of. The only good thing about MSC was they don't have a single supplement like most other lines do. So, you book a cabin for yourself with somebody else, is going to be the same price regardless. So, for example, that's how I was able to get my MSC cruise for so cheap. It was about $300 after tax for everything, no single supplement charge. But like I said, it was kind of jarring, because I'm so used to, I'm sure you know, on NCL, you have your own cruise director, the studio cabins, you have your own little daily planner for solos. It's just they cater towards solos, and just the other lines, they just refuse to do it. They don't have anything. They have it for like other groups, but for solos, it's just not a thing on those other cruise lines.
Now I've got to ask. I got a couple questions for you as a not necessarily. I know some of my things. One of your videos. By the way, folks, if you want to check out Justin's videos, it's the description. The link to his YouTube channel will be in the description to this video.
Thank you.
You did a video using a GoPro camera on keeps the camera from flying off the roller coaster.
So yeah, I use a GoPro for almost all my videos. What I basically do is I have a little wrist strap. I wish I'd have known you're gonna ask this question. I would show you. I'm actually, ironically, for this interview, I'm using my GoPro right now, but I just have it strapped onto my wrist, and I literally, when I'm riding, I'm holding it like this, so I can turn around and hold it to my face. It took a while to get used to it because I used to be so scared, but now I'm so, I guess, sensitized to riding roller coasters. I literally just sit like that the whole time. But yeah,
So it was you. It wasn't strapped to the roller coaster.
No, yeah, it was strapped to my wrist right here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you do the same kind of thing like you're filming on shit videos?
I do. So even you all will see in a future video I have coming up, when I was at Coco Cay, I'm not sure if you're aware, but they have one of the tallest slides in the world there at Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And so usually when you go on water slides, for the most part, I mean, at least in America, they say you can't take them, it's too dangerous. But at Coco Cay, I was like, oh yeah, have some fun. This is how you need to hold it. And so on every single slide, I literally had my GoPro, and I was scared. This is one of the times I was actually scared. But yeah, it'll be in my future video, my solo cruise.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, because you're doing something that I'm not sure I'd have the nerve for, but I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. I'm too okay if I'm in the water though, so I might be okay at Coco Cay.
Yeah.
One other question about your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking over some of your videos and stuff before this. You've had some really nice viewership on some of your videos.
Yeah.
What do you do to promote yourself?
That is a great question. So honestly, I really don't know how a lot of people find my videos. A lot of people I know that do promotion, they use like advertisements, they do Twitter and all that stuff. The only type of social media I have is Facebook, how you reached out to me. And so, I mean, between that and I have an Instagram that I just started using recently. But the way I promote myself is I just post it in groups, like cruising groups, solo groups, for example. A lot of solo people think they're out there alone. And so that's why I really try to cater towards solo people, because I was one of those people a couple of years ago. I had never even heard of the term, but I love cruising so much. I just didn't want to go with anybody. And so I found a solo group, and I came across another YouTube channel who's fairly large now. He talked about it, and I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. And so I did my own research. I started doing it as well. And that's what really kind of made my YouTube grow, because I started catering towards people like me. So between just kind of putting in the right type of tags and just kind of actually putting the real experience, I'm not sponsored by anybody. A lot of people, unfortunately, they get sponsored and they do fake reviews and stuff like that. I'll tell you the truth. If I hate it, I hate it. I don't care how much I paid for it. I'll tell you the truth. Yeah. But that's how I promote myself, just being honest.
That's fabulous. All right. That's I do appreciate your time today. This has been terrific, and we'll have to do this again sometime. We'll catch up next time.
Absolutely.
With Mr. Bucket List. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Now let's see if hopefully I've got this back where I'm on and you guys can hear me. Folks, I did not know that my signal through that was going to stink. That was awful. His signal, at least the way it was coming through to me, his signal during the interview was fine. It looked like my signal kept going out on me, and I was not aware of that at all. Did not see it as I was uploading it to both my computer and to StreamYard this morning, but at least we could hear what he says. Obviously, I asked him about the one question that totally got broken up was about his adventures on a roller coaster with a camera, and he uses a GoPro, I found out. But I was wondering how in the world he was filmed himself on a roller coaster without the camera flying off into space, and he's got the thing strapped to his arm, so he's actually all he's doing is holding his arm out and filming himself. So anyway, it was a good interview. I enjoyed meeting Mr. Bucket List. The description for his YouTube channel is in the description for today's show. Feel free to go. He does more with like theme parks and amusement parks than I do. but he's been on a number of cruises as well. So, good guy. All right. Not a whole lot in the news today, but the main thing, of course, is always got to look at weather. Although we're getting a lot closer to the day when the weather is going to be done for the year as far as it's concerned, but not quite there yet. All right, Sam is actually north of the Gulf Stream this morning. It's expected to weaken considerably during the day, forecast to become a post-tropical low by early tomorrow. It's currently located about 465 miles south-southeast of Cape Race, Newfoundland. It's still carrying 105 miles an hour, so it's a Category 2. Present movement is off to the northeast at 30 miles an hour. The pressure is still down there relatively low. It's 957. So, I mean, this thing still has some guts, but thankfully it's got guts out in the middle of the water. It's still not going to affect land much of any way, except, causing some riptides and surf issues all up and down the New England and the Canadian Atlantic. So Victor, on the other hand, is probably going to be gone today. Currently, it's about 1,300 miles west of Cabo Verdes. It's moving at 30 miles an hour. No, it's moving at 14 miles an hour. It's carrying 30-mile-an-hour winds. Pressure's 1,009. This is expected just to be done. And then there's a area of low pressure just kind of right near the Bahamas. It's got some disorganized cloudiness and showers that'll continue over the southeastern Bahamas and adjacent southwestern Atlantic waters. Upper level winds are probably just going to just totally kill this thing. I'm not looking for it to do anything. They're saying formation development over the next 48 hours is 0%, maybe 20% over the next 5 days. Just doesn't look like much of anything to me. Some rain, that's all. All right. There was a story, Hot Air Tom, by the way, I'm sure Hot Air Tom's not with us today. He's getting the pins taken out of his toe today, which I think they do that to him awake, and I wouldn't like that. But anyway, I did see a picture of his foot again this morning, and it's not a pretty sight. But he's getting the pins out today. That's a good thing. The Norwegian breakaway yesterday, guys, this was a little bit of unusual set of circumstances. First, it was about 45 minutes late departing from New York. And then it got out under the first bridge and stopped. And a few minutes later, according to some folks on board, a few minutes later, the New York police boat pulled aside, and they actually took a passenger off of the Norwegian breakaway in the police boat. Now, apparently this person had fallen on the deck, and they could not provide enough medical assistance on board the ship, called for help. The police said, stop, just put the thing in neutral for a minute. We'll send somebody out to help you. So here comes the New York police boat. They take the passenger back to, I'm assuming, to a hospital or something there in New York. How's that? You're talking about a short cruise. That was what Hot Air Tom says. Man, that's the shortest cruise on record. I can't be more than, 5 miles from the cruise port. But I hope the person's okay. Seriously, that was obviously a more serious issue than we want to think about. And the breakaway got back under steam, and it's on its way to. It's going to Bermuda, so it's on its way to Bermuda. Gets into Bermuda tomorrow, I think, something like that. So, all right, this one was not troubling, but it's kind of scary to me. This past week at the Sea Trade Cruise Global in Miami, the Meyer Wharf Shipyard had several interesting cruise ship prototypes on display, including a 430-ton gross ton ship that is far larger than any other cruise ship ever built. Project Trimaran is a prototype that is unlikely to ever be built due to its enormous size. It would be almost twice as big as the current largest ship in the world, which is Royal Caribbean's Oasis class, and would likely carry 12 to 15,000 passengers. Well, that'd be a hell of a line for the buffet. I'm not sure I like that. I'm not totally sold on the 6,000 passenger ships, but that's me. So, 12,000 passengers on a cruise ship? No. Can't go with that. All right, P&O Ventura. We don't talk about P&O much. This is one of the things that I've been, Martin and I talked a little bit about this yesterday on Cruise Amigos. Before we got into an interesting discussion about sugar beets yesterday. I had no idea about sugar beets. I learned more about sugar beets than I ever want to know yesterday on the Cruise Amigos. That, of course, came from Amigo John. But anyway, I was talking a little bit with Martin about this. There's just a lot of good, solid cruise lines over there in the UK and Europe that we just don't know much about in this country. P&O is one of them. They increased their operational capacity this weekend when the company resumed operations with the P&O Ventura. The cruise line will now have 3 cruise ships sailing, with one more ship to commence operations toward the end of the year. The first cruise for Ventura will be sailing to the Canary Islands, with stops in Funchal, Madeira, Santa Cruz de la Palma, Las Palmas, and Lanzarote, Canary Islands, and Lisbon, Portugal, before returning to Southampton. And I probably slaughtered all of those names that I'm not familiar with. The vessel will also be sailing this year on cruises to Spain and Portugal, and a 6-day Western European cruise. Ventura is scheduled to sail on 2 very long cruises in January and February, each 35 days in length, with 2 Atlantic crossings on each voyage, a sign of the growing interest and confidence in international cruises. So that's the P&O Ventura. And folks, believe it or not, that's it on the news. Just not a whole lot of news this morning. And that's fine. We have days like that. All right, let's go see. And again, my apologies on the signal. I'm tickled pink that MrBucketList, that Justin's signal was so good. I mean, that was obviously solid, and mine sucked. I'm sorry. I apologize, and I will send him an apology as well. He's doing the volcano theme park down there in Orlando. He's filming that today. Okay, let's see who's here. Cindy's with us. Carol's with us. Carol loves cinnamon buns. Yeah, man, that's a weakness. I saw that this morning. Immediately I get hungry for cinnamon roll. Gretchen's with us. Jason, time to get on a ship. Chillie Cruises. I'm looking. Sharon's with us. Hey, Sharon, you and I got to get together. We need to do a chat on your last cruise yet. I loved your show yesterday, especially the sugar beet segment. Yeah, me too. I did. I give John hell, but I didn't know I thought sugar beets were all purple. Now it's how little I know. Poor Chillie buffering again. I hope it came through. So I hope you guys could see MrBucketList like I could see him. And I realized mine sucked. All right, Uncle John is with us up there in Minnesota. Hi, John. That's Amigo John, by the way. Nikki's with us. John says, my first cruise was on Majesty of the Sea, way down in the bowels of the ship. The shaft was under my floor. I'm sure I could feel it running. Wow. Sharon says, Florida is at 85%, which is supposedly herd. Exports still trying to figure out ways to count natural immunity. That could put the number to 90%. Are you serious? I had no idea they were at 85% vaccinated. That's what you're saying? Wow. That said, even with the experts being cautious with numbers of people with natural immunity with a vaccine rate at 57%, we're over 85%. Most states have 65%, just a thought. Okay, now I see. Yeah, so that's 85 is combining the two. Wow, that's a way better than I thought it was in Florida. I mean, I knew Florida's numbers were looking a lot better. The last almost 2 weeks now. We saw some signs here in Virginia of our numbers heading in the right direction over the weekend. So hopefully this is going to be a continuing trend, folks, that we're past this Delta variant and numbers will start coming back down again. And then travel can be way safer. Sharon says this means traveling to Florida is safer than most states, so cruisers should feel more comfortable. Completely agree, and that was definitely one of my factors in not cruising, because I was afraid. I was more worried about getting to the cruise port than anything, and now I'm starting to realize that maybe it's not near as bad as I pictured it to be, and that it's a whole lot safer to get there than I thought. So that's good. Sharon says we can hear him. That's good. Sorry about my signal stunk. Jason says, I'm sure Florida won't spike again. What are the odds of that happening? Well, that's interesting. Sharon says, love NCL Solo Lounge. Yeah, one of the things that Cruise Bucket did say yesterday, I don't remember. Oh, yeah, he did mention it on while the interview was on. He and I chatted about it beforehand. He was a big NCL fan because of the solo situation and being able to cruise without paying double the price, which is the way Royal Caribbean used to be. Then Royal Caribbean this fall had a nice solo package out. Now, whether that will continue with them is yet to be seen. Kenneth Weathers from down in Pennsylvania. Good afternoon, everyone. Ken and Robin. It's raining here. Can't wait till February. I hear you. I might, I'm looking at a couple bucket list cruises a lot more seriously now. And I guess that's a result of, having been through the health issues this last 7-8 months now. I'm looking at some of my bucket list cruises that I'm going to seriously look at booking them. And those are, of course, long. I love the thought about taking the Celebrity Edge when they go to Australia in 24. I love the thought of taking the Celebrity Edge from Fort Lauderdale to Sydney. I think that would be fabulous. And I want to circumvent South America. That's the one thing. Tom, Hot Air Tom did half of that, or a little more than half of that. I want to do the whole thing. Sail from Miami or Fort Lauderdale and go all the way around South America. That would be cool. Sharon says, I know a lot of vaccinated people who caught it. Yeah, there are more than we like to think, but I still, the vaccinated people, and my son's father-in-law passed away and he was fully vaccinated. But he also he was actually, Steve was older than me a little bit, a couple of years, but he had some health issues as well. But this thing is still the strength of the whole program is if you're vaccinated, yes, you could still get it, but it's going to be much milder than and way less likely for serious illness or passing away. So that's where I still am 100% believer in the vaccines. And by all means, folks, as soon as you can, get your booster too. As soon as the timetable is right for you to do it. Why take the chance? Go on and get it. Emily's with us. Hello, Emily, up in New York. Sharon says, I think Florida's seen the worst. I think that's terrific news. Jason doesn't know a single vaccinated person who got sick. That's good. I'm glad that you don't know anybody. I know several vaccinated people who caught COVID, but not in hospital. Now that's the strength of the vaccination, Sharon. Jason says, I wonder how many vaccinated people got both shots. Well, if they're in the statistic of fully vaccinated, they have got to have had both shots. And the CDC guidance on that is for CDC to consider you fully vaccinated, you have to have 2 shots of Pfizer or Moderna or one of each. That's still acceptable. If you have Pfizer and Moderna or Moderna as one and AstraZeneca as a second, you're not considered fully vaccinated. If you have both with AstraZeneca, you're fully vaccinated. And anyway, the Pfizer and Moderna stand alone because they're the mRNA vaccinations. And I'm getting that confused, I think. I mean, they are. AstraZeneca, is that mRNA also? I don't know. I get lost on all that stuff. The Johnson & Johnson is definitely not to be combined with the mRNA because that's 2 entirely different systems, so that you're not fully vaccinated with that. Anyway, Sharon says the breakthrough cases only found due to testing seems like they were asymptomatic. Yeah, well, that's another thing that happens with heavy testing. You're going to get more cases, but it's the seriousness of the cases and the hospitalizations and deaths that really count. Jason also says how many had fake cards. I don't know. I don't really think that's that big an issue. I mean, it could be, and I just don't know about it. But I would like to think it's not an issue on something that serious for all of us. Gretchen says, I know several who got it who were vaccinated, but were symptoms reported was sleeping 12 hours. Since I sleep about 5, sounded good to me. Gretchen, I know the feeling well. I was up until after midnight last night, and then back up about 4:30 this morning. That's just typically the way my day goes. Carol says, I'm clear now. Thank you, Carol. Appreciate the report. Oh, that reminds me, I got to check on Amy. I have not heard anything from Amy and see how her cruise went. She should have gotten home yesterday. So I'll have to send Amy a message, see how she's doing, how she did on her cruise. Oh, Hot Air Tom is with us. Hello, everyone. Pinless Tom. This is Pinless Hot Air Tom. He had the pins taken out of his toe. Cindy says, I certainly hope the worst is over for Florida. Yeah, it's really bad here in August and September. Been watching the curve and is really on a downward trend. That's terrific. And I tell you what, I think the news media, I fuss at politicians on both sides of the aisle. I fuss at the news media on both sides of the aisle too. CNN's not doing a very good job of saying, okay, look, Florida's doing really good. I mean, I've been getting that kind of information from my sources for a couple of weeks now, but you don't see that on, at least on CNN, which is, of course, the left side of things. But yeah, I think it's terrific. The information I've been getting out of Florida is awesome. Emily says, hello, hot air. Cindy says, I know a few vaccinated people who got COVID with very minimal symptoms, more like a bad cold. Emily says, by the way, I have a GoPro too. That's how I got most of my videos and pics when I was on the water. After yesterday, I started looking at the GoPro. And I know there's other, like Emma, my friend. Oh, matter of fact, I got an Emma shirt on today. That's a Hudson shirt. That's the Emma Cruise's Hudson shirt is what I'm wearing today. Yeah, I started looking at a GoPro as well. Because basically when I'm on a cruise, I use my phone or the same camera that I'm using right now, which is it's better than the camera in a laptop, but it's this little small camera which I can use easily on location, but I can't move around with it, so I have to use my phone for that. A GoPro, I could do all of those things. So, looking at that. Jason says, I suspect that most breakthrough cases are from people in larger crowds without a mask. That's always a possibility. Although I'm the first one to admit that my biggest fear from almost a month ago now was with the football season starting and all those people in stadiums, even though it's outdoors, I thought was going to cause tremendous spikes everywhere, and it just hasn't. Now, is it that it's not because we are getting much closer combined to herd immunity, like Sharon said a few minutes ago, like Florida appears to be, where we've got, pushing 60% fully vaccinated, and maybe if you add 15 or 20% on that have had COVID, if they're now immune, does that put everybody up to like the 80% level? I don't know. I mean, I'm not an epidemiologist, but logic tells me, and that's what the same thing our friend Jack down in Conroe, Texas has been telling us all along. He had COVID. He had a severe case of COVID. He knows he's got antibodies. Why does he need to get the vaccine when he's got the antibodies already since he had it? Now, I realize that there's still testing needs to be done on that, which I've told Jack. But let's say Jack's 100% right. And let's say all the people that have had it, the vaccine's not going to help them all that much. It might, a few cases help them getting it again. If you get it again, it's not going to be as bad. And I'm sure there's reasons for it. But I don't know. I am just, I'm just tickled that we're seeing numbers coming down now, because I thought the fall was going to be off. I thought we were going to be worse than we were all along, and we're not. So I was totally wrong on that assumption, folks. Emily wants to know, hot air, how are you after your pins? And everybody's saying, Tom, I hope everything went well. Gretchen says, breakthroughs I know were from exposure to kids and grandkids back in school. Yeah, well, there's another issue. I think we need to get the kids vaccinated. Just like we had to do all those vaccinations when we went to school, even I did, as old as I am. It gets to keep the kids healthy, which is also going to help keep a lot of the senior citizens healthy just by, transferring it from what the kids pick up at school. When they tested the kids, they were positive, but not even in the same household. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things about this thing that there's no hard fast rule for everything with COVID. Nikki says, Jason, our vaccinated neighbors got it at church. 2 weeks of cold-like symptoms. Churches are another thing that, just like I thought it would be a problem with the football games. The churches it's another one. You're in a closed-in space for most churches. And because of the somewhat conservative nature of many of the churches, haven't been pushing vaccines, haven't been pushing masking, haven't been doing social distancing. And as a result, they are having problems. All right, I just got a notice that there's some issues with Facebook, that possibly the stream has ended. We're not sure if that is a truth or not the truth. So I'm going to go on and wrap this up, folks. If I miss some of your comments, I will get through it when I can see what's going on with Facebook and YouTube. I assume that I'm still on the air, but at any rate, there was a bunch more comments that I didn't get to, but I will go over them and mention them tomorrow when we come back again. So I'm going to call it a day today, folks. Thanks for being with me. As always, appreciate the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please think about doing it to keep up with the latest in travel and cruise ship news. And I'll see everybody this time tomorrow for Tuesday Travel and Cruise Industry News. This is the old fat travel guy. And again, my apologies to Mr. Bucket List that my signal stunk and his was fabulous, but it was a good interview anyway. So thanks, guys. I'll see you next time on Travel and Cruise Industry News. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie Chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.